Everyone, good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you might be. It's Kate Richburg, and it's time for Beadshop Live on Wednesday. If you are watching this live, then you all know that it is the day before our U.S. Thanksgiving, and we are busy bustling away to get ready for this holiday. So I'm going to make sure that I can see all of you guys on our stream and that you can see me on this stream. And then we're going to get started. Let me move this over just a little bit more. There we go. There. I'm a little more centered now, I think. Find my center, right? There we go. I can see you guys here over on our YouTube feed. There you are. It's great to see you guys. And let's make sure that our Facebook feed is also going. Looks like it is. There we go. I believe I can see you guys as well. So it's great to have all of you guys here. We are busy bustling around, and I know that you guys are also getting ready. Those of you here in the States are getting ready for our Thanksgiving meal. So some last minute shopping I bet you guys are doing. We did all of our shopping yesterday, and by we I mean Chris. Because he's the one who does most of our grocery shopping, thank goodness. But it's great to have you guys all here. I could see you guys. I saw my mom jump on the Facebook feed. Great. Hi Ma. I hope you're also getting ready for Thanksgiving. It's gonna be they're doing a fun Thanksgiving over at their church for people who do not have the means to do Thanksgiving for themselves. So my mom and dad are cooking for, I don't know, how many, Mom? 40, 60, something? Just a walk in the park for them. So it's great. So we'll be thinking about you guys tomorrow. And we'll be thinking about all of you and being very thankful for all of you guys. And I'm going to be saying it a lot today because we always feel it, but we may not always say it enough. But we're super thankful for you guys taking your time out of your busy day to watch us here at beadshop.com on our Wednesdays and Fridays, and for your patronage and orders and friendship over the many, many years. So thank you all for that. It looks like everybody is jumping in here. Gita is over on our Facebook feed doing some moderating, and I'm sorry, Gita. We were texting earlier, emailing earlier, and it looks like you had a little bit of a migraine, but I'm glad that you're on the mend. So thank you so much for doing all that you do over there on our Facebook feed. And Janice is over on our YouTube channel moderating as well. So it's great to have Janice over there, just close across the miles, but we're all close here on this feed. So let's get started and take a look at what we're going to be doing today. So I'm going to flash back over to the project, and you can find, of course, all of our projects and the product for them over on our beadshop.com web page, our web store. So it's you can pop over there after the broadcast if you haven't already. And I'm going to tell you guys, I have a confession to make, and I'm just going to tell you guys because it's just you and me right here. I'll get a little closer here. So, when we do these projects, we're always super excited about them, and we love creating them. This isn't the confession yet. Hold that thought. This water garden bracelet is actually designed by Ali Mori, our design team lead, and it's in our lookbook. If you go to the summer lookbook, it's in there along with a whole bunch of amazing pieces. But you guys who have seen the lookbook and have gone through it, many of you have made this. And Linda from our bead table group, Linda made a beautiful one in blues, which is gorgeous, so gorgeous. And so I followed up with my own interpretation. Allie's is called Water Garden, and mine is called Koi Pond, and it has kind of the orange tones to it. And you guys can see those right here. Okay, but the confession that I've got for you guys today is, let me click it back on me so you can see me. So, we buy so much product for these pieces, for the projects. And we put it up yesterday, and you guys loved it so much, and you loved the drop so much, and the English cut so much, and the English cut so much, that we're almost sold out, which I feel super bad about. But we hustled today and got things in and are reordered. So everything is going to be replenished. So don't you worry. You're going to have to hang tight and be a little patient for them to get back in. But if you see something, and this is with all of our products, if you see something that you love, put yourself on the notification list, because things do cycle through. Sometimes our vendors don't have them available. Sometimes the check glass, it sells out and we're like, oh my gosh, we've got to scramble for a replacement, all of that. So my confession is that I'm sorry that we may be a little light on some of the ingredients that you guys, because you guys love them so much, which we're totally gratified by. But hang tight. Don't worry, they're coming back in. But on that note, you know how it is when you go to a restaurant and the waiter says, oh, these are the specials today, but you know what, we're sold out of the fish, and well, we're actually sold out of that appetizer, right? And so you have to kind of cruise the menu for other things that you might like. So before the broadcast, what I did was I cruised our menu, and I'm calling this mix, and you know what, I always try and make lemonade out of lemons. I was going to say the reverse, but I meant lemonade out of lemons. And I think I've come up with something else, same project, just some different colorways and things to use that I think you're going to like. So we're going to examine all of this. So as always, this hour is going to be super chock full of learning. And I've got a list here of some of the stuff that I'm going to use in addition to the things that are in the finished products. So I'm calling this Kate's Buffet Mix. It's like I went to the buffet, okay? And I called this Water Garden because that's what I think of when I think about this project. But it's actually Rainy Day Macramé is what we called it. And the Rainy Day Macramé, that's good because today is our first rainy day out here in California. So it all works out for everything, which is great. So my buffet, I went to the buffet, and this is what I found. Okay, I found some 6mm polychrome orchid, and you're like, wait a minute, Kate, there's no 6mm in this project. There is today. I'm going to show you how I use it. The Ivory Mercury English cut in 10mm. I also have pulled an 8mm that I want to show you how to use, because you can scale this project down with an 8mm as well as use the larger one, the 10. Then we've got the mustard drop, and I'm kind of wild about this mustard color, so I threw it in. The daisy button in purple and pink. The silver roller bead that's not pictured, but I have it here right by me. And the Emerald AB, the 8-1017, it's actually the silver lined Emerald AB. And then you guys know, if you've been watching this broadcast the last few weeks, I've had this poor spool of regular Ceylon in wine sitting here on my make it desk, on my creation station, as we like to say. And I'm using it again today. So it's there. So you can see I've pulled some of those, and you can see I pulled some more 6mm. I've got those here. These 6mm, this is the polychrome orchid, which is here, which I just adore the color. But I also pulled the iris brown, the prairie green, and this Picasso red as well. Those would also work. Okay. I chose a whole bunch of our 10 millimeter English cuts, which are great. I have this lone 8 millimeter English cut, so you can kind of see the difference in size between the two. And if you want to scale down, I'll show you how to do it. Um, and then just some other drops. These are the purple drops, and then this is the stuff I'm going to be using. Okay, so even though we're kind of light on some of the things for the project, you can still prep and kind of do your own spin on things. You know, that's one of the things when we had a brick and mortar store, when I had my store in San Francisco, or when we were the Beadshop in Palo Alto, California. It was really cool. Customers could come in and we could design right on the fly together, right? They're like, well, I like blue, or I have this button, or I have a pendant, whatever that might be. And we were able to kind of design over the counter, right? Well, we don't have a lot of bead shops anymore, which is sad, but it's kind of cool to be able to spend these Wednesdays with you to kind of design on the fly. And I pretend like that this is kind of over the counter. I'm here in the bead shop filming room and you're over there, wherever you are. I get messages from people who are in the car pickup line at school, or they're covertly watching at work with their phone in their desk drawer, or you're in the doctor's office or at the dentist or wherever. So it's kind of cool. So that's our new over the counter. I'm here and you guys are out there. So we're just going to do some designing on the fly, which is going to be fun also. But let's take a look at the project here. And I'm going to pull things into, I'm actually going to pull the camera. Let me flash what I'm using back on the screen. And you guys know, right, that while this is up on the screen, you guys can take a screenshot of it, right? You guys know that. And if you don't, I'm telling you now that you can screenshot this sucker. And you can, and then you'll have that list. We'll also post it later, either on, probably on the blog is where we'll put it. So you guys will be able to see it as well there. But I'm trying to get this camera into position, so bear with me here just a second while I have that list up. There we go. I really want you guys to be able to see, and I want me to be able to get this in the right place. There we go. Okay, so let's move along here. Move along. Nothing to see. Nothing to see. Move along. So here are the samples. This is that precious sample that Allie did, her water garden based on the Monet Impressionist paintings, right? You get that vibe totally with that, right? And if you if you haven't downloaded our lookbook yet, you guys, if you go under our projects on beadshop.com, you go to that tab and you look at the little drop down menu. If you go right to the bottom, it's lookbook collection. You click it as a PDF and send it to whatever e-reader you use. I send mine to my iBooks on my iPad, and it's really handy to have it that way, to have it digitally. And then everything is linked. All of the products are linked. Allie Mori, I'm looking at you and being very thankful for your linking abilities. But if you have it digitally, you can just click on it and go straight to the link. So this is Allie's here. This is Water Garden. And then I'll tell you, I was challenged a little bit by making a companion to this piece, because when we do these pieces, we want them to work together editorially. And, you know, if it doesn't have Montana blue and, I don't know, green or, you know, bronze or brass shadows or whatever in it, then I don't know what to do, right? But I wanted to make this really work with Allie's piece, and I struggled a little bit. And so I kind of put it out there to the gang, and Cara stepped up to the plate right away and said, oh, let's use this orange, right? And I was all, oh, that's a great idea. So we pulled in the orange, because orange is one of Cara's favorites. Go Giants. And then we needed like some accent colors and stuff with it. So you can see with Allie's how she used the purple and the turquoise. She alternated the colors with the 10mm English cuts. You don't have to do that. You can use a single color, right? And I wanted to ground this a little bit because the drops that are in this one and the drops that I use, it's the pumpkin mix drops, these guys. The pumpkin mix is all different colors of drops. Can you see that? That's right there. There you can see it. So I didn't want to use multicolored 10mm English cuts, okay? So I kind of reversed it up a little bit. If neither of these colors are to your taste, just kind of wing it, right? And decide what it is you do like. The mustard drops would look great in this collection as well. You could throw the mustard ones in. You could even throw the mustard ones in over here with Allie's to kind of break up that green if you'd like. This is the avocado green, which I think is cool. So, so it looks, you know, you can kind of choose your own adventure with these, right? We use some charms to add a little bit of dangle to them, a little bit of movement, which is fun. And then we used a seed bead. Allie used the persimmon, and then this is the silver lined emerald AB. These are 8/0 here, but you could use anything that works. You could use a 2mm, like a true 2. You could use a little shadow would work with this. You could even pop up to a 6/0. It may be a tiny bit big, so you may have to reduce the number of drops that are around this. So it just depends on how you want to do this. Also, Brittany, our dear Brittany Ketchum, she was the one who actually executed the sample for me. So when she was here doing her last Beadshop Live, I handed her a few things, and of course the execution on this one is super flawless. So this is Brittany's execution and my design with a little sprinkling of the team in there, especially Cara and her orange, which was great. So so that's how these guys work. Now the length on this bracelet, I'll tell you, let me measure it for you. Let me get Allie's. Here, let me put it in the middle. And I'm going to turn it over so you can see the back of the button here. What I call door to door, which is where the button connects to the end of the loop, is about 7.5 inches. Okay, and this is a bulky, it's kind of a bulky, I'll put it on my wrist. My wrist is 6.5 inches. So this 7.5, it's pretty nicely, right? It's bulky, so you need to make this a little, not overly bulky, I keep saying that, but it's wide and it has all these doodads and stuff on it, right? So you might need to make this just a bit larger than you might normally for your normal size. So again, my wrist, 6.5 inches. This bracelet is a full inch larger, 7.5 inches, okay? So let me put that aside and let's take a look then at what I've got set up here. Let me get my glasses on so I can actually see. So I told you about my my kind of alternates that I'm going to be using today, and we're going to talk about all of the techniques and stuff for them. But what I have here is I have the ivory mercury in 10mm, so I'm going to grab that. I've got the daisy button in pink and purple, so I'm going to grab that. I've got that wine Ceylon that's just going to stay here on my creation station for, I don't know, 2020 is all about wine Ceylon, right? So I'm going to grab that. The 8-1017, the silver lined emerald AB, I'm going to grab that sucker. I'm going to grab these 2 roller beads in the silver mercury. And I'm going to grab the 6mm polychrome orchid. If you can't see this polychrome orchid color, I mean, just just shut the front door. It is gorgeous. This, Cynthia Thornton, if you're watching, if Green Girl, if you're watching this, I don't know why I didn't give you this bead when you were here. This is a Cynthia Thornton bead if I ever saw one in my life. I'm going to have to send her one. It's such a good one. So I'm grabbing that. And I'm going to grab these 8mm English cuts too, just to have on the side. Okay? So let's look at now the mess that I've made on my table. Oh, and I'm also grabbing, I had them over here already, the mustard drops. Okay, let me center this down. There we go. And I should have, you know, I'm working on so many projects for our live broadcasts that I have used every single little triangle on my table. So I'm going to empty these couple. I just need a couple of little triangles here. There we go. Alrighty. So let's free some of these beads. I'm going to start with this 10 mil right here. And let's open these polychrome orchid. They're just, I can't even take it. They're so beautiful. I'm going to put those up there. I have a little dish, so I'll put them in a dish. It's not matching, but that's okay. That's what happens when you're having, what did we say, the creative explosion on our creation station? Well, that's what's going on right now. So here's some 8/0s. Look how pretty they are. They really are nice out of the tube. Nice in the tube too. But look at how the daisy button just really goes with it nicely. And so I used my pop of color, and you can see, it's kind of hard to see. Let me get the button up closer a little bit. Can you see that flash of kind of a mustard in it? Which is why I think that mustard really works with these guys. So I'm also going to free these guys here. Okay. Wendy, thank you so much. She's saying she can already tell that this is going to be gorgeous. She loves the colors we chose. Thank you so much. In the traditional, well, it's its first outing of this. Let me put these over here. There we go. In Allie's and my original, the water garden and the koi pond, you need 2 strands of drops, okay? If you're going drops heavy, all right? And let me show you this. Each little segment uses 3 drops, okay? But if you're, I'm going to play around with adding and taking some things away. So if you only have 1 strand, we can, you can figure it out, okay? And so, oh, yep, Drea is asking, oh, great, you guys have already worked it out. Do I have a list of the ingredients? Drea's asking. I can make a blog post real quick during the show. You're amazing. And Geeta is already on it, and she's sending you the screenshot. You're the best. See, team. There is no I in team. Thank you so much, you guys. So you'll have it for the blog. Okay, so let me show you what I've done so far for this. I've started, and I've got my deep dish project tray, but you could use any, you know, if you have a macrame board or however you do your macrame. I'm going to get in kind of tight here so you guys can see this. What I've done is I have macrameed. Let me back up here a second. This is the regular Ceylon, okay? This center strand, I cut one that was about 1.5 yards long, this center one, and this outer one is 3 yards, okay? And then what I did was I put everything through the button, right up top here. Drea saying there's a Drea in Dream Team. Just saying, it is so true. So true, Drea. No, thanks you guys so much. It takes a village to get us on the air every day and or every time, so I super appreciate it. And my dear Christine, I'm going to take a moment to say hey to my best friend in the whole world that I've known longer than I haven't. Christine's over on the Facebook feed. It's great to see you. Happy Thanksgiving. Or should I say to Christine, Happy Easter, and she'll get it. Okay, so 1.5 yards, 3 yards. I've macrameed, put it all through the button loop, and I've macrameed to clear the button. Okay, plus a little bit. Okay, and this, you're asking how many stitches this is. I know what you're asking. Let me count and tell you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think 6 full macrame flat knots. But just you do you. You figure how much you want this to clear. Okay? And so there's the 2 strands I've separated out. The 1.5 yard strands are in the center, and then the 3 yard strand is on the outside. Okay? And you need a lot of yardage for this piece because you're macrameing and stuff. You don't want to have to add. So that's why I cut it so significantly longer. Okay, it's really doubled. Okay, so I'm going to pin this back on the board, and I'm going to lift so I have a little channel underneath. There. Whoops. At least I think I am. There we go. So I've got a little channel underneath so I can work. And you want to make sure that your base thread isn't twisted. Okay, you want it nice and flat. Let me move this. I undid it. It was perfect, and then I undid it. There we go. So see how it's nice and flat? It's nice and flat there. Okay. So now let me get one of the finished bracelets so you can kind of see what's shaken. I'll put Allie's there. And so you can see here's where she put through the button right there. And then on these outer 2 strands, that's where we start to string. Okay, whatever is going to embellish the outside of the strand, that's where those guys go, on this outside strand. Whatever you're stringing in the center, that's what's going to be in the middle. Okay, so you string those on. So what I'm going to do is I have these 8mm English cuts too. Andrea, if you're still watching this, I didn't have that on the screenshot. So I'm going to actually add these in as well because I want to show you guys how this looks with the 8mm also. Okay, so, and it works, the color works beautifully with the color palette, so I'm going to add those in. Okay, so I'm going to cut these up. And this is the purple, the 8mm. What is this one? I will tell you right now. It is the 8mm amethyst blue, I believe is what it is. And it's just such a pretty, it's the same one that's the 10mm that's in Allie's, but only in the 8mm version. Okay, so let me start. I'm going to widen this shot up so you can see what's going on. I'm going to unclip my thread from the bottom of my board, and I'm going to take my my 2 little pieces of seal-on here. I made them stiff with some zap glue, but I haven't kind of angle cut them yet, so I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to just put these on doubled through. The hole is plenty big in these guys. You could also use a needle if you wanted, you know, use a collapsible eye needle or a flexible eye needle on these. Michelle is saying, that she loves the English cuts. I do too, because they're so vintage feeling, right? This English cut. This bead has been made for decades, really. Sometimes you see it in vintage jewelry, especially in jet, in black. They did this cut a lot. So you can see I have strung this right up to the top. Now I'm just going to string, you can see what Allie did here. Here's the A dot, A dot, drop, A dot, drop, A dot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to string A dots. And let me see how many go around this. And I just grab them in, and see that stiffened end works really well with the needle. It's my little trick of adding zap glue right onto a baggie, little drop of it, folding that baggie over and drawing the thread through. So the glue disperses on the end of the thread, and then it dries really quickly and acts like a great self needle. So I'm going to slide these up, and let's see how that looks. I think I'm one too many. That looks right there. So that's 2, 4, 6. Okay, so I'm going to put 6 on the other side. Okay, so let me do it. Cindy's saying it's one of her favorite. Oh, the pink fuchsia. I know there aren't many of those pink fuchsia left, and I don't know if we can get them again. I hope they make another pink one. I've had to substitute it once with a color. Pink is so hard to do in glass because there's gold in the glass when you make pink and red tones of beads, of glass beads. And so everyone just loves that fuchsia. So it's one of the first ones to get sold out. Okay, so here's my 6 and 6 on this side. So I'm just going to come in and I'm going to just macrame, right? Here's my, let's start with the P side here. There's my P, right? There's the P. So I just go over the leg of that P, under the center strands, and up and out through the loop. Okay, those, I just ignore those A dots. Don't even worry about them. They're just going to hang out. And as you tighten it up, it's going to tighten. So now I just do the other side. If it comes loose a little bit, it just will, so don't worry. I'm going to tie that macrame knot in reverse, over the leg, under the center, and out through that loop. Now you can see it's all loosey-goosey, but that's okay. I'm going to come in, I'm going to tighten this one, and then I'm going to kind of try and hold on to it. I know that you guys do this too. Pull that thread in, tighten and pull, tighten and pull, and there we go. It's a little loose. Again, it's a little out of my focal range, so I can't always tell, but I can tell that's loose. So just use your awl, tighten it up. Now that side's loose. Come on. Bracelet, don't you know that everyone's watching me? There we go. Perfect. Okay, so now once we've got the 2 knots in there, it's going to sit nicely. And so what Allie did, let's count the number of knots in between, because you want to be consistent with what you're doing here, at least if you want the bracelet to be kind of balanced looking. But you can do, I mean, you can also make this kind of asymmetrical as well. That would work nicely, especially kind of with these drops. It would look cool. So there's 1, 2, 3, I think 4 knots in between. So I'm going to go 1, so that was 1. So 4 full, whoops, I think I did that on the wrong side. 4 full square knots. Maybe I did it on the right side, I can't tell. There's my scallop up there, so that's the side I make the loop on. And I go underneath. Okay. There we go. Yeah, give it a yank, Kate. I know. I don't want to bully my thread on air. I want to be nice to the thread, but you should see me when I'm not on the broadcast. What goes on, the shenanigans that go on backstage, right? So how many is that? That's close. I think I'm gonna make, is that 1, 2, 3, 4, is that 5? Let me count and see what Allie had again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That looks right. At least that's what I'm gonna go with for me. So we get a little tighter in here so you can see it a little more close up. There we go. That's super close. Extreme close up. Whoops, that's a little out of frame. There, let me inch it up, inching it up. There we go. Okay. So now I'm going to add a 10 millimeter. Okay, so we're going to mix it from this 8 then to the 10 millimeter. And this is a good way to go if you only have one strand of drops, right? So here's this one. Let me so what you have to do is you have to unpin your piece, put your 10 mil on, make sure everything's flat, and you can see here how I have it, how I have to clip it on the box like that to keep the tension. These are our clampers, keep the tension. These are our clampers, super handy. Okay, so here's this. Now what Allie did, she used an A-dot, a drop, A-dot drop, A-dot drop, A-dot. So 3 drops and 4 A-dots. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, what shall I do? What shall I do? First I'm gonna start with an A-dot. Okay, and this is the silver lined emerald AB. Janice is asking if I'm mixing the 8-aught and the 10 millimeter English cut, should I add an extra macrame knot or 2? You know what? Maybe is the answer. If you, like, if we look at this and we hold it up, because I was thinking about that, actually. You're reading my mind, Janice. If I hold it up next to this, and I'm kind of looking at this length, the length looks pretty close. So, I don't know. You could always add or take length away at the loop as well, or at the end, right? If you added a few more knots at the end. So you just have to kind of, I don't know, wing it this first time. But I'm going to see how it goes. But I'm going to use the same spacing, but I'll probably have to add a little bit there. Okay, so so there's that one. So I'm going to add, I want to see how this looks. I have the 6-aught actually, so I'm going to put a drop, and this is where auditioning the beads comes in, and the 6 mil, and an 8-aught and a drop, and then one final 8-aught here. Let's see how that looks. I like it. I actually like that a lot. You could also, let me leave, when I'm auditioning things like this, I'm going to leave this and I'm going to do the reverse on this side. Okay, and then we can see what we like, if we like it. Okay, so there's my 8-aught. Oh, whoops. Yeah, here's my 6 mil. my A-dot. I'm just going to use one drop. An A-dot, the 6 mil, and a final A-dot. Okay. Okay, so let's take a look. So see, this is a little long. Can you see that? So we've got a couple of options here. I love how that A-dot looks, or the drop looks balanced in the center. But I also don't mind, let me tighten this up if I can. I don't mind how those guys look on that side either. But I think I don't know. What do you guys think? What I do know is that this formation here on these, or this 10 millimeter, is just slightly small. Okay, so, and you can see with Allie's, I'm going to put Allie's here so we can kind of see it, so we can reference it as we go along. I'm going to undo this one. I'm going to put this A-dot on. I think 2 cords will fit through it. I'm going to find out right now. There we go. And this one. Now I'll put this back on. And then we'll look at the right and left sides again. It seems like you guys are liking the right side, so I think that's what I'm going to go with. I like these votes. This is super live, right? So we're voting right side or left side. I could also mix it up, but let's do the right side first. So there we go. See how I've added that now? And it makes that a little bit longer. So this should, if I put this together, that should sit just fine. All right, let's do it. I think you guys are digging the right side, so let's do it. Okay, and I could use 4 millimeter. I could use the 4 millimeter fire polish as well. I saw the 6 and kind of I thought that the 6 would kind of give it that same bulk that all of these drops did, but a 4 mil would also work, Cindy, and then I might not have to add these extras. Okay, so let me take these guys off. And thank you, Susan. Susan's saying over on the YouTube feed, a lovely version of a traditional macrame. Yes, thank you. I'm glad you like it. Thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Put this on so we'll make the right and the left match. And this just goes to show you guys that you don't have to follow the recipe bead for bead, right? I know that a lot of us are cooking, for a lot of us on the American side of the pond are cooking for Thanksgiving, and we do a lot of improvising in the kitchen, right? So we can also take that same improvisation and improv on our bead boards as well. Let's take a look and see how this looks. Drea's saying maybe take out some A-dots, but I want to see what it looks like here. So sometimes you just can't see what it looks like until you tighten everything up and push everything out. And I think that looks pretty darn good. So now I've got to just tighten this sucker up. not let that 8/0 get away from me, and tie it up. There we go. So tighten that first round, kind of like get my finger on it, right? Tighten that second round, there we go. Push that up. And you can see, look at that, I'm gonna get in kind of tight. Doesn't this have a crazy kind of Baroque feeling to it? I love it. Let me see if I can get it. And the tension, that knot, if you get these knots right, tension is going to hold this in place. Okay? And I'm going to do this. Yeah, and you don't have to do this. You know, I just threw the fire polish in there, Cindy, because we were getting a little low on drops. And I wanted to give people kind of an option to improvise. So let's get these. But it does change the profile of the bracelet completely. But I think it's a good, yeah, see these guys, it's looking pretty good here. And again, these kind of flop around, so yeah, I think it's good. So let's do this. Let's do another 8mm. Let me get a millimeter. Let me get a little tighter here. I mean, sorry, a little wider here. This would also make a great section in a wrap too, right? You could do, like if you were doing a wrap, then you do a short section of maybe just like this, if I repeat this on this side, and then continue with like a, you know, like a ladder or something, right? Because you could then separate these two strands out the side and ladder in between them. There's all kinds of stuff that you could do with this design, but look at how pretty that lays there. I also see, Danielle Wicks, I'm looking at you, an earring with this, right? That's what I see, which would be great. Where's that English cut? There it is. So again, here's the 8mm English cut. Slide that bad boy up. Keep these strands flat while you're bringing them back down to clip on your board. And you could pre-string, like if you knew you were gonna go in between the 10 and the 8, you could pre-string those so they're sitting down on your thread and just slide them up as you go along. And what I'm doing is I wanted you guys to see this, I'm working on the side, the short side of my bead board here. Can you guys see that? It's the short side, not the long side. Okay, but makes it a little easier for me to handle and not having so many threads. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and do another. I love all of the ideas that are floating around here on the thread. Now I could, let's see, this was 6, right? So I could do 3. I actually would do 2. I could put 1 drop in and then 2 more of these. Let's see how this looks. Right, and this is a great place to stash dive because you'll have so many, and see, look at how nicely that fits around there with that 1 drop. So if you wanted to do a more abbreviated version of this and not have the 3 drops per side, you could use just a single drop with 2 8/0 on either side. So let me do the other one. We can take a look at how that looks. So 2 of these. The drop, I'm loving this mustard drop so much. This would also make a good focal for a necklace, right? You could do part of this, weave part of this here, and then string these strands down here, right? So you could connect it to a button. Have this kind of be, you know, if the button kind of lays on the side of your, you know, just on the side of your chest there. And then you could have strands, you know, the strands coming down and across this way and up around the other side. Wouldn't that be a winner? Add in a bunch of semi-precious or whatever. It would be amazing. So now let's go ahead and just tie that plain macrame flat knot. I'll start here with my pea side. Over that leg, under the center leg, and out and up through the loop. Under the center leg and out and up through the loop. If you go to beadshop.com, and I know that there are a lot of some new viewers here today, we have so many skill builders on our website. If you go to our learning tab, and we have this macrame flat knot as a skill builder. You can also watch, it's the one that kind of put us on the video map. You can watch Brittany's very first video, her Bollywood bracelet, and Bollywood, I'm going to actually pull this down so it's supported. Her Bollywood has been watched so many times online, and that's kind of the beginning of all of this kind of macrame flat knot that we do. That was the start of all of this. So there we go. That one's tightened down. And let's keep going. Okay, so here, and I think I'm doing 5 in between. We pull that down a little bit more. I think this is looking pretty good. What do you guys think? Not too bad for going to the buffet, right? I think. There we go. I think that's even. So now I'm going to repeat this guy again. So what did I do? In the center, and again, let's lay out alleys here. Let me put it the right direction. There we go. And let me put our orange guy up here too. There we go. English cut, 10 millimeter. And you can see the real difference in size between the 8 and the 10 mil. And again, drop an extra, if you feel like you need to make this a little longer for you, you can drop an extra couple of stitches in between here, right? That'll only make the profile of the bracelet stand out all that much more, right? Oh, whoops, I put on the 10 millimeter, but I didn't put on an 8/0, so let's put that 8/0 on. And the 8/0, the hole is real big. The stiffened ends of the Ceylon just slide right through like that. And then let's go ahead and, yeah, Michelle, I think you're right on point. Michelle is saying it would look wonderful with the tassel and used as a pendant. Wouldn't it though? Have a luscious tassel there at the bottom. It would look great. I love all these ideas. Yeah, a collar, it would make a, Janice, get out of my head. Janice is saying, wouldn't this make a great collar on like a simple sheath dress? It really would. It really would, Audrey Hepburn. It really would. Look great. And especially, I think what is so appealing about this design with more or fewer drops, both of them, is that the profile of this piece, the negative space that this piece creates, and you know, when Cynthia was here and we were talking about design and we were talking about color, one of the things that Janice and I talk about a lot when we design is not only the shape of the bead, but the negative space that the bead creates itself. So let me tighten this up here a little bit so you can see. So it's not only that this drop is sticking out and looking really cool, but it's also the dip that your eye follows to the next drop that makes this visually interesting, right? So when you incorporate that kind of negative space, those loops and swirls into this piece, it just gives your design a little more visual interest, right? So I always think in terms of negative space when I'm creating. So let's do another one of these big ones here, an 8/0. And so if I were stringing this, I'll show you now that we've kind of belabored this a little bit. If I'm stringing this and I want to go as fast as I can go, right? And I'm a pretty fast stringer out of necessity because hashtag samples, hashtag samples every week. I hold both of these. You've seen me do this before, but I hold both of these in my hand. This is my dominant hand, my right hand. And then I just string the 2 beads one at a time, one on one strand and one on the other. It also helps keep me from making mistakes, or if I make a mistake, at least it's symmetrical, right? So there's that. Now I need a drop. So a drop on each end, here and here. Here and, whoops, here. And then the 8/0. You saw me do this with Janice's kit, the Autumn Before Winter curated box piece, which, by the way, you guys are amazing. I've been seeing some of these posted on our Facebook group already. You guys have been hard at work creating with that curated box. So I'm really pleased that you're making it. And if you have, let this be your resolution, you guys, for 2020. Okay. If you have some of our curated kits or our curated boxes in your possession, I want to see those done, right? Get those suckers out and work on them, because those beads are not doing you any good sitting in your drawer. So I want you to make some creative time. I'm looking at myself in the mirror as I'm making the statement, but I want you to make yourself some creative time to get those projects done so you'll be happy and be able to wear them. So here, this one here, I'm going to tighten. I think it's easier kind of with this weight to take this out of the, and I'm going to tighten this up. Take it out from underneath that seal-on, and then I'll tighten it. And then I'll tighten it even more on the second go round. This first knot is always the tricky one, so you kind of have to tell this piece who's the boss of these beads. There we go. And just tighten it and pull it up. Alrighty. Then I'm going to lift that back up and do my knots again. This is coming together, I think, pretty nicely. I like Kim, I like that you are also a negative space person, and like you're saying, it doesn't always click with everyone, which is why I like to point it out, because it's one of those kind of stealth, I think, design tricks that not everybody, I think maybe that people kind of intuitively gravitate towards, but maybe they're not conscious of how they're doing it or why they're doing it, to add the interest to their jewelry. One of the pieces that really, I think, that I've seen lately on the bead table, Danielle Wicks has kind of revived the lantern earring, the one that Emily's lantern earring that she has, that she designed. It was a brick stitch project. And Danielle made a whole bunch of them. She's such a fast beader. And they look just gorgeous. They're all pictured over there on the bead table. Negative space and, negative shape for that lantern earring. I love mine. I wear them a lot. I think that they're a fast, fun gift. So if you haven't checked out the lantern brick stitch earring, it's a really good one. And Danielle, your interpretation of them is just gorgeous. So let me get those two, whoops, That's not right. I'm stringing those on the wrong one. I caught it though. There we go. So 2 on this side. And 2 on this side. Again, that zap glue, as you know, stiffened the ends. 1 drop. I like this one up top too, without the drops, but I think I will save those for the ends. So I'll do another one of these at the end, so it'll be kind of bookended. Janice is asking about my earrings. I don't know if other people were asking about my earrings, so yes, I will. I will show them before the show is over. I've been busy at my silversmithing bench, so it's an earring that it's been in my head for a while. So if you follow me on social, you can follow my Insta at BeadKate. You can also follow all of us at beadshop.com. You can follow us at beadshop.com on Insta. But you can find my metal extravaganzas over on BeadKate on Instagram. And you can see all of the results of what happens at my bench, but the earrings are posted on there as well. And on my Instagram TV, or IGTV, I have some videos, some little how-tos that are on there as well. And Beadshop is also on IGTV, so we're going to be posting more Instagram videos as well. So if you're not on Instagram, I think it's kind of the brighter, less stressful, fast scroll social media, right? So if you're not and you're like, oh, I just don't need one more social media to follow, I like Insta. It just is really just kind of a pretty, at least my feed is a pretty mix of jewelry and travel, and it's just kind of a nice, I don't know, respite during the day. So you can always follow us there. So there's that. Okay. So we're coming along. I'm going to measure just so we can see, because I'm flying blind here. I have no idea how long I need to make this, since I have, since I've, kind of made this up. I have no idea what the length. So let me take a look. I do this. I don't know if you guys do, but I do. This is how I measure. And my feeling is that I was about halfway done, and I think I'm right. So so this I would call the center for me. There we go. So let's, I've got a little bit of time, so let me see how close I can get. Okay. We're just hanging out, right? Maybe some of you are cooking for American Thanksgiving, so just bring your mobile device into the kitchen and let's keep moving. And this uses fewer drops, definitely fewer drops. So if you only have 1 strand of drops, this might be a good way to do it, right? So, whoops, I pinned this down before I put. So now I know, okay, what I'm going to do. So if this is the center, I need 1 more section of these guys, 1 more of this, 1 more, and 1 more. So I'm going to string these on the thread because we want to kind of speed things up a little bit here, right? We're getting into production mode. So let's put on So let's put on an 8/0 and put it on that one first, because that one's not quite as stiff as this strand. It's easier to put that one through. And this one here. And so so if you're doing these, you guys, and you're traveling, maybe you're getting ready to go on a trip or something, you're like, oh my gosh, I want to take this project with me. This is a good travel project because you could pre-string. If you know what you want to do, pre-string your center, like get this ready, right? And you can get several ready, right? Get your button on, macrame, string your centers so they're done. And you could do, like, especially across the short end of the board, you could have it all ready to go. So this would be a good project for the car, especially. So make your significant other or your kid drive, and you just sit back, relax, and bead in the car. I love that story. Drea is the queen of beading in the car, as she will tell you. She has done it many a time and posted about it in our group as well as on our social, so it's kind of fun. I love that you guys are like, this is pretty, it's eclectic, so I hope you guys like it. I don't know. Designing on the fly, you know, sometimes, and when we do these projects for, you know, the website, sometimes it's a hit and sometimes it's a miss, but you know, sometimes I think it's kind of fun just to see the design on the fly. So thanks for hanging in there while I make this up. I'd also like to know everybody's favorite. Oh, and thanks, Drea, for the reference. There are 25 beads to a strand of these drops, so you'll have plenty for this. I don't know what kind of pies for American Thanksgiving you guys are making. I am making a pumpkin pie, but in my household growing up, we were big pecan pies, or pecan. I don't know how you guys pronounce it, but my little gran was born and raised in the South in Louisiana, and so you know we had pecan pie. But I haven't made one in a long time, but I've been thinking about that, maybe making one of those. But I'm going to go all pumpkin tomorrow. I'm all in. I've got everything ready to go. There we go. Or sometimes a sweet potato pie. I don't know if you guys make a sweet potato, but I also like a sweet potato pie. Also deep in my heritage. So let's just double check and make sure if this is a center. I've got one of these here, I've got one of these here, one of these here, and one of these here. Okay, great. So let me slide these guys down out of my way and pin it up. Alrighty, so around this big one, let's do it. One of these. Let me get some of these on deck. This guy. This guy. And it really becomes kind of automatic once you've established this design, right? The second half is always faster than the first. I like, Lynn, what you're saying. Lynn is saying she's making a pumpkin cheesecake instead of pie this year. I'll tell you a fun fact about my mom. My mom had a prize-winning cheesecake at the San Benito County Fair just outside of California, Hollister, California. My mom won. Ma, if you're still watching, put how many years you won. 6 years straight, I think. Your prize-winning county fair cheesecake. I think that must have been at least 6. So cheesecake figures very big in our family. It's my mom's signature dessert, along with my dad's favorite, which is a pineapple upside down cake. I like the sound of that key lime pie, real key lime pie, Kim Crawford, especially since you hail from the key lime state. Right? So that's my favorite pie, I think, key lime. Though I do like lemon meringue. I just like pie. Who doesn't like pie? It's always time for pie, right? My granddad's favorite was lemon meringue, so I learned how to make lemon meringue very early on. He also really liked apple, but lemon meringue was his jam. There we go. And just keep this, remember you guys, to keep this center inner strands, keep them tight, and that will make your stitches really even. Okay, that's kind of vital to keep those center strands kind of taut on there. There we go. It does, Leslie. I love that you observed that the bracelet looks expensive. And I think maybe it's the saturated colors. I think it's also kind of the eclectic mix of colors and the negative space, right? If you look at the runway, I think that's the right amount. If you look at, you know, when designers send their clothes down the runway, a lot of times they're kind of doing their over-the-top designs that they walk down the runway, and there's a lot of saturation of color and style and print and mix, and so I think we kind of get used to seeing that on the runway, and so when something kind of interpretates, no, that's not the right word, is interpreted, where did that come from? Is interpreted that way in your jewelry, it kind of reads the same way. It kind of reads expensive. At least that's my take on it. Okay. Oh, I love it that somebody is making gingerbread. Yes, it's gingerbread season too, right? I try and think of all the cozy things about winter in the northern hemisphere, though I know many of you watch us from down under, from the southern hemisphere, and you guys are in the throes of summer right now, right? Or starting to get into summer. But up here in the northern part, it's time to try and make ourselves as cozy as we can, right? To get through that winter. Spring's coming, you guys. It'll come. Whoops. Except I don't know if my beads will go in the right place. Come on now. Get over there. There we go. Tighten them all up. And you can see without tension, see how everything kind of flops around. So let me tighten everything up here. We don't want any flop in these beads. There we go. I'm doing okay on time. If you guys will stick with me, I'm going to try and get this done here. I mean, what else do you have to do? I know dinner's waiting. I know you've got to get the turkey out of the brine. I understand all of those things, but you know, let's take time out to bead. Last year, Karen brought it up. I had forgotten all about this. Last year, she asked me if I were brining my turkey this year, and I said no. I'd forgotten all about it. Last year, I had a turkey brine incident where my turkey brine, I don't know what happened. I must have dropped the pot or something. And the turkey brine on Wednesday night went all through my fridge. I think I stood in the kitchen and cried. I'm sure Chris has not forgotten about that either. I banished it from my memory, but Karen asked me about the turkey brine. And so the answer is no. I have not brined the turkey this year. I don't want the great turkey brine incident of 2018 to repeat itself. It was good, but cleaning out your fridge on the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, oh my God, I thought I was never going to recover. But I did. I know, Canadian Thanksgiving, you guys celebrate yours in October, which is great. The one time I went international and I taught in Toronto one year, I taught, it was like right the week before, I think it was the week before Canadian Thanksgiving. It was cool, so. But yeah, we could just go right over the border and celebrate 2 Thanksgivings, because it's always good to be thankful. We're always thankful for you guys. Let's get this in there. And this guy. Everyone says that Thanksgiving dinner, at least a lot of people that I know, say that Thanksgiving dinner is their favorite meal. I do like traditional American Thanksgiving foods. but I also love it when you go over to someone's house and they put their traditional, especially like my dad's Armenian, so we throw in some Armenian dishes as well. So I think kind of mixing whatever your ancestors like to cook is always a fun way to celebrate as well. So yeah, we throw down some crazy Armenian food on Thanksgiving too. So there we go. Second Monday in October, Michelle. That's Canadian Thanksgiving. I love that you have Thanksgiving on a Monday because that makes your weekend all that much longer, right? I love that story. That's a good way to do it. Okay, we're coming down the pike. Here's that last one. And as you can see with the layout of this, that negative shape that I'm creating here, it's looking pretty good, I think. And I agree with, if this were going to be a collar, if you were going to interpret this as a necklace, you might only want to put drops on one side, like, you know, so the bottom would have the drops and the top wouldn't, because if this was a necklace, the drops might flop over, right? So I would only choose one side to add the drops for a necklace. And then let's raise this back up. We're getting close to the end of the board here, which I love. Tying these knots as fast as my little fingers will go. There we go. But that even tension, remember, even tension is going to help you be in it to win it. There we go. This really does, I think it was, I don't know who mentioned that earlier. Leslie, I think you were mentioning how luscious and spendy this bracelet looks. I really think it does. I'm having a lot of love for this one. So I'm gonna just double check before I finish this off, with this last one. I want to double check my length, right? Measure twice, bead once, right? And that looks about right. See, I'm going to finish it up with that one round, and then I'm going to start my loop right there. So I think that's good to go. So let me just repin this. I'm going to actually pin it on this side, maybe to give myself a little more room. Pin this one down. I like that. And then what did I say? Around this 8mm, I think I said 6 seed beads, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Let's do 6 on this side. And I know you're all wondering how I'm going to finish this off. I am too, but we're going to look at the samples and then we'll adapt. Okay, there's 2, there's 3, 4, 5, and 6. There we go. Okay. And I'm trying to be consistent as I'm tying these. I'm always starting on the side with the P. Okay. And then that makes my first knot. I don't know if it really makes that much difference, but I'm trying to be consistent. Not always my strong suit. I have to be mindfully consistent and not slapdash. There we go, and tighten that up. Let me pull this a little tighter so I have a little more room, and go for it. I really like the contrast of the wine-colored regular Ceylon. This pink really isn't anywhere except for maybe it's kind of in the button, right? so I think it pulls that color. So when you're choosing a thread color, when you're doing a macrame and the thread is so forward, when you really have a thread forward project, really think about the color, because it really is another element. You know, the beads of course hold color, and have a lot of color to them, but the thread choice can really add an element to what you're doing, right? So if you're mindful with that, it really adds this. Pam's asking, would you consider this an intermediate project? I don't know. Maybe you might, Pam, want to do a macrame project, maybe our Bollywood first, and then dive into this. But it's not that hard, really. It's just stringing beads along the outside. The only thing that's a little woolly is, you know, this bead is kind of heavy, so it's kind of hard to get that first knot, as you saw, kind of tight. But, you know, play around with it, you know, or maybe even do a practice run with just like maybe this motif, a large bead in the center and then beads around the side, and then maybe graduate to adding the drops and stuff. So maybe it's an advanced beginner, maybe I would call that. Okay, that's what I would say. But you know, you decide. If you have super nimble fingers and you're ready for a challenge, you know, you might want to go for it and see what happens. Okay, I'm going to clear my space because I need to get ready to close this off. Now, one of the tips, you know, Janice shared her top 10 tips for beading. It's also in our lookbook collection. And there's some great knowledge that she dropped over there. But one of the things that I always say with my pieces is I never like to close a piece the same day that I string it, right? Because I'm tired, right? My brain has taken up all of my, I don't know, maybe all of, not my attention, but all of my smarts. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but you know, what I like to do is I like to let the piece sit overnight before I close it. And then what I've found is I have fewer mistakes when I do the closure. Okay, and that's just kind of how I roll. But today, since we're doing this live all in one, so I'm gonna, here's my piece, and let me measure this for you so you can see the measurement. Let me get kind of a little wider here. Let me pull this up so you can see the whole thing. There we go. This length, it's a little under 7. So my loop and everything, it's going to be about right. I need it to come in at 7 to 7.5, 7.5 inches right there. So what Allie did for her closure, and you can see that she put the charm right in the middle of those two. So she ended it, and what she didn't do, well, no, maybe she did, ended it with the macrame, and then we used the large roller bead. We added all of those strands through. So I'm going to put the concentration, that's the word. See, I couldn't get it, Leslie. Takes all my concentration. Exactly. Takes so much concentration that I couldn't even think of the word I wanted to use. So let's get all 4 of these through any large hold bead you have. You could use a pony bead, Pony Express, one of these rollers, any of those that we carry. But the big hold beads are really important to be able to close it off. There is a center, a space in between to add a charm. I didn't really grab a charm for this one, so I'm not going to put one on, but you can, and if you do, you'd put it on here, okay? But I do have 2 of the rollers, so I'm going to put this one on and this one through. There we go. This slides up. And I'm going to give this yet another measurement just so I know that I'm still on track. So door to door, I'm at about 7 inches. So the loop, now what I need to look at is my button. When I bring it around, you need to remember that the loop needs to be large enough to go around that button. So I think it's going to be just the right length. So let me clip that one on. I've clipped it up there. I'm going to get my center. Find your center, Richburg. This one. And this one. We're coming down the home stretch, you guys, so bear with me here while I just show you how this all goes together. Because I know you want to see it. We'll put that little seal on underneath it. Let me see if I can get this into frame. There we go. Close enough anyway. I'm a little bit of an angle. But let's start that P side. Again, if you had a charm, I would add it now at this point, right? So that you, I'm going to actually turn this a little bit to me. There we go. That's better. And I'm going to macrame like my life depended on it. And notice, remember the measurements that I used for the inner and outer threads? My inner threads were a yard, and a half, and then that yard and a half was doubled through. I want to make sure I've got a little bit of room there, and I do. Good. That it was doubled through the button shank, and then the outer threads were 3 yards doubled through. Okay, so so I didn't have to add thread as I went along. And you can, right? There are plenty of places that you could add your macrame thread, but I don't want to if I don't have to. So cut, and you saw it's not very much. Your spool of thread is big. Okay, we're almost halfway there. I know I'm a fast macrameer. I know. It's true. You could even do like a few beads in this macrame if you wanted to embellish. You could add a few 8/0 onto this base strand if you wanted to as well, to incorporate into the loop. I've also done a loop where I do a series of half hitches so the loop is flat. That's a good alternate. You could even make this shorter and use Janice's Trails End closure, which is just a leather loop and button. So there's a lot of variations you could do on the closure, but this one is just a simple, straightforward macrame loop. I'm almost there. Fastest macrameer in the West. Right? And the seal-on, again, this wine color, it's super pleasing to me. I don't know, what, maybe burgundy is a color, maybe that's my color for 2020. I don't know. I have to check the Pantone colors to see what they're saying is going to be trending. But you know me, I like to march to my own trend. So it's kind of a nice lighter burgundy color. All right, I'm almost ready to check the loop. I don't want to go too far. So let me see how long this piece is. I've macrameed about 1.75 inches here. So let me fold it over and see if that slides through. Just about. So what I do to kind of figure it out is I kind of make the loop big enough, and I can see I need maybe about 5 more, sorry, I'm kind of in the bottom there. I need about, I don't know, a set of maybe 6 or 7 more stitches to get around. Okay, so let's do it. Cindy, what you're saying is the Pantone color for 2020 is pale pink. I have not seen it. I'm gonna have to look it up and see. Every year, if you're not familiar, and you probably are, you've probably seen this, that Pantone, you know, the color matching service, that Pantone puts out colors. You know, they've done trend forecasting and all of that. This past year was Living Coral, was kind of a light coral, and if you go to our January mix for 2019, you can see how we interpreted that color. But pale pink, interesting. I haven't done a lot of pale pink, but this is kind of pink. Sorry, I'm out of frame there. Sorry about that, you guys. Move that up. But this is kind of a pink. It's only a darker pink. So maybe I'll try and incorporate it. Pale pink is one of those colors that I find sometimes is hard for me to use, but I'll challenge myself. Janice is also mentioning that Allie has used, and we've used this in the past with other pieces, we could use a section like this. We would double this over if this was going to be a wrap. We'd put a ring, like one of our Jardin rings or our mini hoops, and we would macrame over that, and then we would add our wrap on the other side of that ring. So that would be a great way to attach a ring and continue on with the wrap from there. Okay, this should be enough. Let me measure this again. Hopefully I haven't gone too far. I wasn't really counting. This is about 2 1/4 inches. So let's try it. Yeah, it's perfect. Can you see that? There's a little bit of play there so that the button doesn't scrape the sides. Okay, so I'm going to turn this back to the side now so I can tighten everything down. Oops, sorry, I hit the camera there. Sorry about that. Then, so now I'm going to do it actually this way. I'm going to reverse this out. And I'm going to just get myself just a scrap. This is where, do I have it? My little scrap of, where's my, I thought I saved it. My little, yep, there it is. My little twine loop that I can come in and clip to the box. Now I'm going to take all 4 of these strands and even them all so they're together, just like so. Whoops, come back. And I'm going to send all these through. This is where sometimes a big eye needle is helpful, but you know, if you've done the zap on these strands, let me get in a little tighter so you can see what I'm doing here. If the thread is stiff enough, it'll sail on through. Now the trick is to decide where you want to add that knot, your final knot. I said it'll sail on through. Don't make a liar of me, thread. Come on, there it is. Okay. So here's everything. And everything gets tightened down. I want to make sure that I don't make it too loose. There we go. So now let's take a look at Allie's loop. She ended it right there between her rollers. And again, if I haven't put on my if I hadn't put my charm on before, I'd put it on now, right? So that the charm is in there. Then I'm going to come in and I'm just going to tie my knots. So you can also macrame over here, which I could do, but I think what I'm going to do instead, which I think is a little, I think it's a little, I don't know, tighter maybe, a little bit easier to deal with. I'm going to tie a square knot around this whole thing. So see, let me get that centered so you can see it. So I've got my 2 strands and it's coming out. You can see the loop is sitting there nicely and everything's nice and snug. So I'm going to tie a square knot. I make a loop with my left thread and I go in that loop with my right thread and I tighten it down. Okay, now I flip this over so that my left thread now turns over to the right side and my right thread is coming up from my left side, so that when I tie the square knot again, it's going to tie itself around that center core that's running up. So again, left, make a loop, and a right, go through. There's that half hitch, and I'll tie that full square knot. Right, it was right over left, and now I'm going to go left over right. Doesn't matter what you start with, just do the opposite to finish off. Okay, that's all she wrote. Now I'm going to get my hypo cement, okay? And the hypo for this, I really want to let it sit overnight before I clip away the ends. And then I'll either clip or use my thread burner to take the excess thread away. So I'm just going to come in there with my hypo. And you could have applied a little bit of hypo cement before you tied that last half hitch, but I'm just going to turn this over and add that glue on the inside. I'm going to put a little baggie underneath it because I don't want any glue to get on my velvet board. But if you really let this sit, I like to let it sit overnight before I cut things away. That way the glue will have time to saturate that thread and your knot will stay tied. Now with these ends, if you're a dangly kind of gal, you could tie some dangles, some strands on here. Michelle is saying she uses a crafting heat gun to dry the glue quickly. That's actually an excellent idea, which I have never thought of in almost 30 years of beading. So that's a great way to do it. I think it's a great way to do it. I'll just let this sit and then I'll come in and I'll use my thread burner and I'll come in and burn these threads away. Or if you don't have a thread burner, it's no big deal. Just clip it. All right. But let's take a look and see how the loop looks. Get a little wider here. There we go. Get this. And I'm going to cut these threads a little shorter, not up too close, but they're kind of making me crazy, so let me do that. And thank goodness, yep, it's a perfect fit. Grand. I think it looks really good, if I do say so myself. So let's lay all of these, and I could, Cindy's asking, can I pull the cords through the other roller? I could, and I could then clip them down there. I could, however you want to do it. And then once these threads are clipped away, that roller, those 2 rollers will kind of come together and you won't really see the knot much at all. So let me go ahead and display these nicely so you can see. Let me do it this way so you can see what's going on. Here it is. Now's the time to take that beauty screenshot if you want to do it. Let me move my hands out of the way. There you go. And we'll have this one, I'll hand it over to Karen and she'll put it up on the blog so you guys can see this one too. Let me see. Here's this. Here's all 3 of them. There we go. I think that looks real nice. Let me straighten it out. Ta-da! There they are. Not bad for a day's work, if I do say so myself, right? It is kind of, yeah, these are dramatic. They're great. And in these, they're great. And in these, I use 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, 14. I use 14 drops. So, and the strand of drops comes in 25s. So there you have it. There it is. Okay. Let me click back over real quick. This is the list of things that I used in that, what I called going to the buffet to figure out what I'm going to have for my water garden. Right? And so Drea says the blog's up already, and she'll add Karen's photo and embed the video to this later. So great. So that's that. Now I wanted to, I'll pull this out of the frame since it is Thanksgiving, and I wanted to say thank you, especially to those of you who have watched this long broadcast today. In the newsletter, if you got the newsletter, you did see that I had a little special item that I was gonna do, and I have it. It's right. Let me put it right here in the shot, and I'll show you. If you guys remember back in the day, sometimes we would do these fun giveaways after the broadcast was over. So I made, right now on the West Coast in Redwood City, California, it is 12:13 p.m., not a.m., p.m. And I made this little mix, and I'm calling this my thankful mix. It's just a bunch of fun beads that I think go together really, whoops, sorry, let me get it in the shot there, that go together really beautifully. There's some O beads in there and some large rice beads and some wood beads, all kinds of fun things. And so I made up 35 of these. So if you make an order between right now, 12:13 p.m. Pacific time, and I'm going to say 1 o'clock, I'm going to say about 1:13, about an hour after the broadcast ends, and you put Thankful Mix in your order notes, the first 35 orders will receive my special mix, and all you need to do to qualify is make an order of $35 or more. So 35 orders of 35 or more, that is after discounts and before shipping, and put Thankful Mix in your order notes, and we'll toss this cute little bag. I have them, whoops, that's the wrong shot. There we go. I have them in this cute little bag all ready to go. I've got 35 of these ready to sail out the door. So if you have throw that in there, we will throw this in for you. So so put that in. Okay, so again, I'll flash this screen, and you go to beadshop.com for all the information on the project and the products, and sign up for that newsletter, you guys. If you haven't signed up for the newsletter, sign up for one. Sign up for it, because we do a lot of great communication. All of our specials and our projects and our curated mixes and all of that stuff comes out through our newsletter, and so that's how we communicate. Also, if you have not signed up or if you've not joined us over on our Facebook group, go on over to Facebook and search out the bead table, and answer the questions. Make sure you answer the questions, because we have the questions there to keep out any spammers or whatever. So make sure all 3 of those questions get answered. Okay, and then I will be so glad to have you join us over there. And so from all of us here at beadshop.com, we wanted to say a really heartfelt thank you. We are grateful for you every moment of every day, keeping our small business running. We really, really appreciate it. So thank you so much for your orders, your well wishes, your order notes that always make us smile. So thank you so much. I will be back on Friday after my turkey coma. I will be back on Friday with Free Tip Friday. And you guys, I have the fastest bracelet in the world to make. So it'll be heavy Christmas gift or holiday gift making time. So tune in on Friday at 10:30 a.m. for a super fast bracelet idea that you'll be able to make a whole bunch of for like everybody in your office or everybody in your book club or whatever. It'll be great. So I'll see you then. I'll flash this back one more time just so you remember the code for your mix. And thanks, you guys, so much for those of you who celebrate. Happy Thanksgiving, and the rest of you around the world. Thank you so much for joining in. We're super thankful for you. And I will see you Friday at 10:30 a.m. for Free Tip Friday. Thanks so much.